finally a placard that tells it like it is. Oh yeah. There's no mystery. There is nothing cryptic or odd or unusual about the placard. What you see is what you're about to get. You can see this. Well, I guess the hand sign is kind of mysterious if you don't read English or if you're illiterate. But it's right there, kids. TTT can only stand for one thing if it's a Wednesday at 7 o'clock p.m. live on the Facebook. And that is, of course, Tent Talks Tunes. How do you like my thematic consistency, guys? Yeah, looking good? Oh, yeah. If my camera angle were a little bit more ameliorative towards my t-shirt, you'd see what a beautiful smooth transition that was from placard to hand sign to t-shirt. The TTT shirt, if you will. I'll drink to that, guys. Bad punnery and great music. Let's have it. Delicious industrial fortified hickory tap water. Oh, yeah. Let's reach on over here to my desktop computer and see that I am indeed going out live. Anybody who's watching this rerun on my YouTube channel will be saying to themselves, well, of course, duh. But that's because you're living in the future. You are at some indeterminate point after Wednesday at 7 o'clock p.m. watching this. So you already know what's happened. We don't. This is 100% in the real, in the raw, in the moment, in the life, in the live. And so we are completely subject to all of the whims, vagaries, bagatelles, and strange haps and circumstances of internet technology. As I gaze into the camera and go yap, 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 and the camera transmits the signal through a cable into a modem. And after that, I don't even know where it goes, how many satellites it bounces off of, and what landlines it travels through. I'm not even going to try to figure it out. But we can only trust that it happens. Let's drop the specs for a second and see who's in. Alan Versapalis, our traditional #1 viewer, first one in the house. Hello, Alan. Hello, Ruben. Ruben checking in from parts unknown, weight unknown. Excuse me. And I can see by the little icon in the upper left-hand corner of my screen that we have some other people watching. Good to have you guys on and on board. So yeah, enough snafu and falderall. Let's get down and talk some tunes. But of course, we always have the preamble to Tent Talks Tunes. Yes, we preambulate with a gaze, with a look, with a peep at the bulletin board, and then a little look inside the mailbox. Well, the bulletin board's got some events happening. I've been talking about a few of these for a little while. And some of them are right on the verge of happening. For example, this Saturday. Today is Wednesday. Then you got Thursday. Then you got Friday. Then you got Saturday. Saturday the 19th of July in Concord, North Carolina. And by the way, it is Concord, not Concord. Concord will never be conquered. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. July 19th. Yes, at the Clearwater Arts Center in Concord, you're going to have the second ever live performance by Clayton and Wenzel. Clayton and Wenzel, Jeff Clayton, the long-haired weirdo himself, the unimpeachable president for life, the lead singer and conceptual guiding light of the almighty ANTiSEEN. Yes, indeed, Clayton and Wenzel, Mr. Steve Wenzel, the owner of the great psycho thrift shop Kingdom Corner in Mount Pleasant, North Carolina, member of the Alice Cooper tribute band Love It to Death, and a host of other projects. They have double teamed on some good old time acoustic gospel string music, and I will be playing the guitar with Clayton and Wenzel and also stomping on that big bass drum when the occasion calls for it. That's going to be a fun show. Just a fun, down-home, good time, acoustic jamboree type of thing. Show starts at 6 p.m. There's a couple of other acts on the bill along with us. Clearwater Arts Center in Concord, North Carolina. I am reasonably sure, I think it's a safe assumption to make, that you don't want to miss it. There, I said it. I put it on the table and into the internet saying that you don't want to miss it. I'm not going to miss it. I'm going to be there on stage. What's not to love? What else? Well, I've been talking about it a lot, and I'm going to keep on talking about it until the date rolls around, September 19th and September 20th at the Ground Zero in Spartanburg, South Carolina. Rule Breakers Ball 2025. Oh, yes. Two gigantic nights of bone-crushing, head-stomping, eye-gouging, nose-breaking, teeth-rattling, spine-curving, bowel-loosening, bad guy rock and roll. Oh, yes. Yes. If you understand the great sport of professional wrestling, and I'm not talking about sports entertainment, brother. I'm talking about professional wrestling. If you understand the aesthetic and the philosophy behind professional wrestling, and you understand the psychology of the bad guy, then you will most likely dig every single band on this double-header, 2-night Royal Rumble. Sorry, I didn't mean to say Royal Rumble. That term is extremely gauche. That's a sports entertainment term, and we really try not to go there. What I meant to say was Battle Royal. Battle Royal. Remember, professional wrestling, not sports entertainment. 2-night, over-the-top rope, 10 bands, Battle Royal. Friday night, you got Taped Fist straight from Macon, Georgia. After that, Future Hate from Mobile, Alabama. After that, Knowledge is for Fools from Raleigh, North Carolina. After that, Before I Hang from Hattiesburg, Mississippi. And on top, you got Rancid Vat from Hostel City, whatever state they happen to find themselves in. That alone, my friends, is worth getting a train ticket, a plane ticket, a passage on a packet steamer, a nice long walk, a healthy bicycle ride, whatever it takes to get there. That alone is worth it. Then we got night 2. Oi! That's O-Y. Oi! Oi! Night 2. Blue Ridge Death Cult. Wrath of Typhon, Self-Made Monsters, Josephus and the George Jonestown Massacre, and of course, the only band that could headline 2 nights of mayhem like that. Yep, you guessed it. That little old band from Brutalsville, ANTiSEEN. Yep. Tickets are on sale. Lodging is available. If you go to either the ANTiSEEN website or the ANTiSEEN Facebook page, or some of our ancillary pages, such as the Destructo Central Facebook page, and I don't know, maybe somewhere else, but if you can't find it on ANTiSEEN.com or the ANTiSEEN Facebook page, talk to me personally, and I will send you in the right direction. I will make sure that you are pointed where the action is. Let's see, what else is going on here? The G.G. Allin book, out, available. We'll be talking about this in a minute. My new mailing address, P.O. Box 173, Newton, North Carolina, 28658. My brand new updated website, malcolmtent.net. That's been on the internet since 2002. And I do keep it up to date as much as I possibly can. I add new content whenever there is suitable new content to add. So check it out, guys. I'm very happy with the way the website looks these days, and there is a lot of cool stuff on it. A lot of cool new stuff as well. And of course, we'll be talking about my Discogs, eBay, and Bandcamp very soon. In the context of Tent Talks Tunes. Meanwhile, Tent drinks water. All right, so we're going to look at some mail. We have one piece of mail to have arrived at P.O. Box 173, Newton, North Carolina, 28658. And I already know what this is, but I've never seen it, and I'm very excited to see it and very excited to hear it. This is from my good old pal, George, in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. George was known at one time as Dez Spellbound when he blew the sax and played the bass and brought the skronk to the party with the Broken Talent Auxiliary Corps, then later on with the Trash Monkeys, and later on with the Stun Guns. Yes! And as he promised, because, and I'll tell you what made this happen. What made this happen was there's a very cool YouTube channel called the Florida Sound Archive. And I have posted the links to Florida Sound Archive in the past. May yet do it again if I am goaded enough. But the Florida Sound Archive is a really cool channel where Jeff, the guy who curates it, interviews people from basically every style of music in South Florida, all the way from the 70s to the present day. And he's a great interviewer. He knows the right questions to ask. And when his interviewees are talking, he lets them talk. So his podcasts end up being really substantial, and they quite often run 2 hours or so. I was on his webcast, for example, and it was great. It was probably the single best interview I ever did with anybody. It was just a really good, substantive interview. So anyway, Jeff on the Florida Sound Archive interviewed George and Mark Feehan, former guitar player of Broken Talent, about their band, the Trash Monkeys. And it really whetted my appetite to finally get a copy of the Trash Monkeys CD entitled Pass Out, which George very graciously mailed to me. That's the front, that's the back. Let's see, Mark Feehan, a.k.a. Marky Awesome, right there front and center. You got Lloyd Void with his arms outstretched at the back. George on that side. And that it's got to be Bill Orcutt. Has to be Bill Orcutt on the floor. Yes, that's an all-star lineup if ever there was one. So George, thank you so very much for sending me this Trash Monkeys disc. I will be listening to it as soon as humanly possible. And having this thing arrive at P.O. Box 173 spurred me to finally update my Bandcamp a little bit. Yes, TPOS on Bandcamp. Now, you know my label, TPOS, has been at it since 1984. We released our first ever product in 1984. The Blood Slut 7-inch by Broken Talent was the first. The Music to Kill Brain Cells cassette compilation was the second. And this features Broken Talent. You could say like a proto version of the Trash Monkeys called Verbal Circus. The Pop Cruds, which is Marky Awesome's band before Broken Talent. And the mysterious and enigmatic Fonzie's Nephews. This comp, DIY, 60 minutes of almost lo-fi, definite sludge, is now available for the first time ever on Bandcamp. I uploaded it just a little while ago. It is live. Even if you don't want to buy Music to Kill Brain Cells, all of the tracks are on Bandcamp for listening. You can listen to this all you want. When I was processing this thing for release, I was listening to the music on it, and it put a smile on my face just as much as it did back in 1984. This is some great timeless stuff. So I invite you, even if you're not in a buying mood, go to Bandcamp and check it out. Music to Kill Brain Cells on TPOS. Oh, yes. And since I'm tooting my own horn and talking about new releases and Bandcamp updates, I recently made a DVD, a clamshell version of the G.G. Allen and the Disappointments CD DVD package. I kind of like the way this looks. Yeah, some of it's upside down, a little bit akimbo and off kilter, but it's kind of cool. This was available also as a digipack, but I figured, you know what? Why not have fun with all the formats and cover all the bases and do a clamshell as well? So that is also on Bandcamp and Discogs. And I don't know if I put it on eBay yet, but I will soon if I haven't already. All right, guys, that's the infomercial section of our program. What do you say we get down and do some tune talking? Oh, yeah. Jim Earhart is tuned in. Hello, Jim. And Ruben Wright has a hot tip on a pro wrestling song on YouTube. Okay, we're going to check that out. The only thing that's at least almost as good as professional wrestling is rock and roll music that's about professional wrestling. Which leads us seamlessly and with no hesitation whatsoever to the meat of tonight's matter. The brand new ANTiSEEN 12-inch maxi single entitled ANTiSEEN Time Machine. Oh yes. Oh yes. As is the case with so many things on the ANTiSEEN calendar and the Malcolm Tent desk, this one was a bit of a long time coming, although not as long as some projects we've been working on. I got projects I've been working on for years. I do not exaggerate. Years. Because sometimes it just takes that long to get these things into production. For example, the ANTiSEEN Blowfly 12-inch maxi single. That's been in the works now for 12 years. 12 years that 12-inch single has been in gestation. Is it gestation or gestation? I'm going to say gestation. 12 years this record's been in gestation, and it's, it's not done yet, and there's no indication it's going to be done anytime soon. It will be done. It will. But yeah, 12 years. That might be the record for having a record in gestation. 12 years. It'll just make it that much more satisfying when it finally does come out. But the ANTiSEEN Time Machine, I'm just actually going to go ahead and I'm going to contradict myself and say that this was birthed, it was conceived and birthed relatively quickly. And I'm not only ANTiSEEN's bass player, I'm not only the guy who puts out some of their records, I'm not only a member of the firm, I am a fan. I'm a big-time fan. So whenever we get a new release, it's like I take it out the box and I look at it like a fan, It's like, whoa, look, a new ANTiSEEN record. This is great. And it's just double plus bonus when I see myself on the cover. So I look at these things, as a fan. And as a fan, I revel in the stories of how these things come to be. Like, what's the story behind them? I'm the type of dude, and maybe you are too, who loves watching documentaries and reading biographies and reading histories, especially about music and especially about rock and roll music. I just gobble that stuff up. One of the reasons why I'm here doing Tent Talks Tunes. I got to regurgitate my information out to you guys and get some of it back. So, brand new ANTiSEEN record comes out, and I just immediately start thinking about everything that went into the making of it and how it ended up the way it ended up. So, I'm just going to take you guys by the ear and drag you through the process of how ANTiSEEN Time Machine came to be. As with everything, it started with an idea. Yes. In the beginning was the idea. And the idea, as generally happens with the almighty ANTiSEEN, originated with the aforementioned fearless leader, unimpeachable president for life, the heel prez himself, Jeff Clayton. And as so often happens, the idea floated to the surface during a long, long drive, either to or from a gig. I've said it before and I'll say it again. ANTiSEEN, I'll say it better. ANTiSEEN, the four members thereof, currently Jeff Clayton, Sir Barry Hannibal, Walt Wheat, and myself. The four members of ANTiSEEN are a veritable think tank. We're all music geeks. We're all rock and roll history buffs. We are all idea nerds. We just love sitting around brainstorming and bullshitting and coming up with ideas for the band, things we can do, ideas for the live show, visual ideas, just whatever, just whatever we can think about to make the band as best as it possibly can be, as exciting as it possibly can be, and to keep it fresh and original and new. Because this band's been around for 42 years at this point with basically no breaks. ANTiSEEN never has broken up. ANTiSEEN has gone on the occasional hiatus due to one circumstance or another, but ANTiSEEN has never broken up. This is not a case where a band breaks up, stays broken up for 25 or 30 years, and then one original member of the band gets together some new people under the old band name and goes out on tour playing the same old stuff and maybe cranking out a new record. Maybe. We don't do that. We've never done that. ANTiSEEN has been an ongoing concern since day one in October of 1983. Since day one. So the only way to keep that happening is to have ideas, to generate ideas, to think of ways to keep it moving forward, new songs to write, new topics to address, just all of that good stuff. All that good stuff. So we're on this long drive from a gig somewhere, and Jeff Clayton mentioned to me a song that he had wanted to do with ANTiSEEN for a very long time. Probably even longer than 12 years. And it was an idea that he had run by various members of various lineups of ANTiSEEN in the past. But apparently nobody really was enthusiastic about it. Nobody could really get behind it. And I think the reason for that being, this is mere speculation on my part, the reason I think is that a lot of the past members lacked the enthusiasm that I have and that Jeff has for disco. For disco, 70s funk specifically, 70s soul music specifically. I mean, I will once again reiterate, I am an unrepentant disco man. I love disco. Disco does not suck. You cannot make a blanket statement about any genre of music at all. Yeah, there's some crappy disco. Oh, there's some crappy disco. Let's not disabuse ourselves of any notions here. There's some lousy disco, especially towards the 1979 era of things when just everybody was cashing in. But, there's plenty of lousy punk rock. There's plenty of lousy heavy metal. There's crappy third-rate symphonic music. There's bad jazz. There's cruddy country. I don't care. Pick any genre of music you want, and there are bad examples of it. But it doesn't mean the entire genre is no good. No, disco is great. I love disco. And so when Jeff said, what I've wanted to do for a very long time was an ANTiSEEN version of a Donna Summer song. So my ear kind of went like that. I said, really? He said, yeah. Sunset People by Donna Summer. And I thought, I can hear that. I can hear that. You know, it just, to me, it made sense. It just made perfect sense. It's like any song from basically any genre can be turned into stripped down rock and roll if you just strip it down. So, you know, you get to the root of what the song is. You get to the basic structure of it, and you knock off all the phony baloney and the bells and whistles and chuck all the confetti out the window, and you have a basic song structure. And Sunset People's got a really good song structure to it. So I said, all right, I'm willing, and I think I'm able. I want to tackle this. Let's see if we can make this happen. So, you know, at some point after getting home from that long-ass trip, I busted out the old Porta Studio and a guitar and a bass and a drum machine, and, you know, got my copy of Donna Summer's Greatest Hits with Sunset People on it, and learned the song, and thought of how ANTiSEEN would do it, and made a demo. Just me playing the instruments with a drum machine and laying down a rough guide vocal, you know? Excuse me. And I thought it came out pretty good. I was pleasantly surprised by how well the song translated into a stripped-down, bare-bones rock and roll song. Pardon me while I wet my whistle. So that was a good thing. So I sent it to Jeff Clayton, and he listened to it and gave it the thumbs up. And that, of course, is the crucial consideration. Doesn't matter how many ideas I get, or how many ideas Walt Wheat gets, who is tuned in right now, by the way. Everybody say hi to Walt, guitar player for ANTiSEEN and Before I Hang. Doesn't matter how much brainstorming Sir Barry Hannibal does. If it doesn't make it through the Jeff Clayton filter, it ain't gonna happen. It's just that simple. You know, he's the one steady, nonstop member of this band since '83, and it's his vision. So, you know, we can throw stuff to the wall, but if it doesn't stick, it ain't gonna happen. In this case, it stuck. So, all right, cool. We've got something to work with to do Sunset People. And I don't know if this was during the same brainstorming session or not, but somewhere along the line, he pitched the idea of doing Flower Punk by the Mothers of Invention, which is the last song on side 1 of their absolutely immortal album, We're Only in It for the Money. And he already had a pretty good idea of how he wanted it to go, so he laid it out for me, and I just did the same thing. I sketched it out, drum machine, guitar, bass, and my silver throat singing the song. And once again, that flew. So we've got these ideas now for these 2 songs, and so it's like, well, what do we do with them? You know, it's like, what do we do? We've kind of given up on doing 7-inch singles. ANTiSEEN has, who even knows how many 7-inch singles and EPs in the catalog. And I personally, I love them. I love 7-inch singles. The unfortunate reality of it is that they're kind of a hard sell. They just don't sell as well as 12-inch records. And they're also not really a whole heck of a lot cheaper to make than a 12-inch single. I think there's like these days there's like a $1 difference in the manufacturing cost. So it's kind of like, why not spend the extra buck and produce something on a format that is a lot more likely to sell, and which you have a lot more canvas to work with, so to speak. You've got a 12-inch canvas for the cover. You've got 12 inches of vinyl. You know, a 7-inch single, you're limited to about 6 minutes per side of vinyl. A 12-inch record, you're limited to about 20, maybe 21 or 22 if you've got a really good cutting engineer. So conceptually and logistically, it just makes more sense these days to do a 12-inch record. But, you know, we're going back and forth about this, and I'm sure Barry and Walt were in on this discussion somewhere. We just kind of decided we didn't want to do a 12-inch single with only 2 songs on it. It had to have a little bit more than that. So we're batting around the ideas all over the place. Now, as a side note, when I was cutting these demos, I was just kind of fooling around with the bass guitar, and for reasons unknown, I don't know why, who knows why, but for some reason, I just started thinking, Jeff Clayton loves Cher. That's C-H-E-R, Cher, as in Sonny and Cher. Sonny and Cher. What a great bass line. Doom, 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 doom. And I started playing The Beat Goes On. And I started adding some really loud distorted guitar to it. And all of a sudden, I thought, this sounds pretty good. I like the way this sounds. So just on a complete whim, just as an utter, out of left field, whimsical idea, I made a demo of The Beat Goes On by Sonny and Cher and sent it to Jeff. And got an almost immediate thumbs up. Okay, cool. Now we got 3 songs. But, you know, at this time we were already working on the Great Disasters full-length album. We hadn't started work yet on the Falls Count Anywhere album, which is all wrestling songs. And these 3 songs wouldn't have fit into Great Disasters. They're kind of like these orphan tracks. So we've got 3 balls and we just don't know how to juggle them yet. But then, and I'm pretty sure Jeff is the one who came up with this, and we were sitting at our rehearsal space, and we had started doing the song by the Sex Pistols, New York. Great tune. Jeff's original concept for that was it was going to be a song that we only played live and never recorded. It was going to be a live-only treat for the punters, which was great. You know, I really like having mystery tracks like that, you know, bonus cuts, if you will. And this one was only going to ever be played live. Fine, great. We did it several times. Always went over very well, thought it sounded great. But Jeff said, you know, to heck with it. We've got this version of New York by the Sex Pistols, which means we've got 2 songs from the 70s and 2 songs from the 60s. Why don't we make that our record? Why don't we make it like a covers album or whatever it's going to be of 60s and 70s songs? All right, cool. Now we got a concept. We have a concept of some sort for some sort of record with these 60s and 70s songs. So the ideas then start swirling around back and forth. It's like, well, do we want to do a full album? Do we want to do a 12-inch EP? We're not going to do a single. Should this be CD only? Just thinking about all the different ways to approach this. And once again, I'm pretty sure it was Jeff who said, you know what? We're going to keep it simple. K-I-S-S. Keep it simple, stupid. We're going to keep it simple, stupid. And we're just going to leave it at those 4 tracks. We're going to leave it right there, and we're going to make a 12-inch EP. And that's going to be it. I said fine. I'm sure everybody else said fine, because now the wheels are in motion. And I remember being on the phone one day with Jeff Clayton talking about it. And we're batting forth ideas and trying to think of what to call this thing. And I am very happy to beat my own chest, pat myself on the back, stroke my own ego, and say that I was the one to blurt out the title, ANTiSEEN Time Machine. Yes. Yes, it was the tones of this dulcet voice which first said ANTiSEEN Time Machine. But you got to remember, if Jeff Clayton didn't like that title, it wouldn't have happened. Luckily, he did like the title. So, all right, we got a title, we got the songs, we got the concept. And from here on out, this is where Jeff really comes into his own. Because you can look at this guy on the stage at an ANTiSEEN show. Now remember, we are the boys from Brutalsville. So here's this guy on stage with a barbed wire baseball bat and maybe a sickle and blood running down his face and wrestling togs and, saps and, he's taking no prisoners. And you could say, man, what kind of a troglodyte is this? Who is this knuckle-dragging brute? Well, the thing is, Jeff Clayton has a keen eye for graphics and visual art. The man went to school for it. And he's an artist. Yes, that blood-soaked, barbed wire chomping, take no prisoners guy on that stage with the 3 thugs behind him is a gifted visual artist. And so once he had the name, he started conceptualizing. And, everything on the package, this is all Jeff Clayton. Donna Summer on the front, the font, the sort of, I don't know if that's, would you call that paisley? I guess you would call that paisley. The back cover, which is laid out like one of those classic, yet at the same time cheesy radio station compilation albums from the 60s and 70s. Complete with faux DJ promo-only sticker. And he specifically wanted a band photo with all of us giving the biggest, most ridiculous smiles we could muster up. He said he wanted to be an extremely un-ANTiSEEN band photo. Every one of us standing there with a fake grin plastered on our faces, except for Barry. I think Barry, and Jeff pointed this out, I think Barry was genuinely cracking up at the silly faces we were making. So for the first time in recorded human history, you've got the 4 members of ANTiSEEN just being smiling fools on a record cover, or anywhere else for that matter. So that's, the concept graphically really took off once we had the songs and the title. And of course, to make it the time machine, you have to go back in time and listen to the radio, which is where we heard all of these songs, really, except for the Sex Pistols, because the Sex Pistols got no radio play. But we first heard Donna Summer and Sonny and Cher and some Frank Zappa on the radio. So the next concept was to make it a day in the life of the radio station WSOD from Brutalsville, 109.1 on your FM dial, with your dulcet-voiced DJ, KD, after dark. So that's the form that the record took. It's a radio station promo with radio station programming. The DJ, the hits of the day. We have the Destructo Divas doing station IDs on the record. I mean, it's a whole concept. It's like a radio mixtape from your favorite oldies radio station with that great graphic. And this is where having an eye for the visual arts really starts to click and fall into place. Remember what I said earlier, we're all music geeks, we're all rock and roll freaks. I personally am a hopeless record collector. I know Jeff has been a hopeless record collector. Barry is not. Barry doesn't understand why anybody would want to collect records, or anything else for that matter. Walt, you're still tuned in, I think. Walt, do you consider yourself a record collector per se? Please chime in and let us know. Let us know what your opinion is of this record collecting racket. Anyway, I am, Jeff has been known to be, and we love packaging. That's why the ANTiSEEN Time Machine comes with this WSOD sticker. because we are of the generation when we would buy every single new Kiss record when it came out. And Kiss records always had a poster, a booklet, stickers, tattoos, picture sleeves, all that great stuff. So we totally want to emulate that. So ANTiSEEN records typically have little tchotchkes and giveaways. In this case, the WSOD sticker. So the packaging. Okay, Walt says, record collector with a lowercase r. I understand. Jim Earhart says he is a record collector, loves his hard-to-find or limited edition vinyl. That's why, Jim, you love this band so much, because we specialize. We love that stuff, too. We want to see as many different variants as possible. But, you know, it's not enough. It's not enough to simply release a record on colored vinyl. Not enough. Especially when you've got a record cover with this much color to choose from. You've got your greens, you've got your orange, you've got shades of pink. You got all kinds of stuff going on there. So we press on pink vinyl, which if you look at the record and the label, you'll see that the color of the vinyl matches very well with the colors on the label. Note that on one side you've got the paisley on the large field of the label. On the other side you've got the paisley on the small field of the label. On one side you got the title. On the other side you got the band. These are the small little details that you can add to make a release even more fun than it would be normally. Would have been very easy to just put generic TKO Records labels on either side, but we're not limited to that. TKO, the label that ANTiSEEN has been on in the US for, God, I don't know how long. TKO, and specifically Mark Rainey, who not only runs TKO Records, but owns the pressing plant where the stuff gets made, is like us. He's a total sucker for colored vinyl and limited editions and giveaways and deluxe packaging and all that. So it's one of those rare and blessed occasions where you've got the band, the record label, and the manufacturer on the same page for everything. Essentially, if we want to make a record a certain way, Mark Rainey and TKO and Cascade Record Pressing are like, yes, let's. What are we waiting for? So we get the awesome colored vinyl, the awesome full color labels, the different design on each label, the color coordination. The fact that we wanted this record to match as much of the color on the cover. So you got pink vinyl. You got orange vinyl, which also matches the color scheme of the paisley. It's very consistent. It's very consistent. And of course, you know, anybody who collects baseball cards or football cards or wacky packs or anything like that knows that there's always a chase card. There's always one card that's harder to find than the others. So we decided to honor that tradition by making a chase color, which in this case is the intense disco single orange and pink and yellow and green splatter vinyl, of which only 100 were made. That's the chase color. Man, it looks particularly good on that side, don't you think? I love this kind of stuff. It sounds great. It sounds great. A guy named Adam Consalves at a place called Telegraph Mastering does all the mastering for ANTiSEEN records on TKO, and they sound fantastic. So big salute to Adam for making these records so loud that your neighbors are afraid to see one walk in your front door because they know they're going to be hearing it very soon. Produced by Sir Barry Hannibal, because he's the guy who does the hands-on, nuts and bolts audio work when we record the stuff live. Jimmy Tutterow, or maybe James Tutterow. I don't know exactly how formal we are these days. It says James on the cover, doesn't it? James Tutterow was on board at the sessions to engineer it and did the final mix. And once again, he did one heck of a hell of a job doing it because it sounds great. And as a fan, I'm delighted with the way it came out. And this is a very rare occasion. We have none other than Sir Barry Hannibal himself in the audience right now, the producer of the ANTiSEEN Time Machine. This is a very rare occasion. Anybody out there who's watching right now, if you ever wanted to give Barry a thumbs up or a heart or a clapping hand, you can do it. Normally, he snubs that kind of stuff. Normally, he wants nothing to do with any of that. But since he's watching now, he has no choice. Look at all those hearts and thumbs ups and smiley faces. Sorry, Barry. It just had to happen. That's what happens when you show your face on Tent Talks Tunes. Did I mention the inside-out printing? Look at that. Jet black inner jacket. I forget the exact term for that, but it's actually printed inside out. The slick part is on the inside, and the sort of rough part is on the outside. We did the same thing with the Falls Count Anywhere record. And it's a really neat effect. It just came out really, really cool, good looking, good feeling, good sounding. And basically, what I'm saying is that this is the feel-good record of 2025. And if you disagree, well, we'll just leave it at that. The feel-good record of 2025, and it's right here. And speaking as a member of the firm and as a fanboy, I'm delighted with it. And so far, the feedback we've gotten from the general public has also been delighted, not to mention delightful. Because we love hearing how awesome we are from everybody out there. We like it. We like it a lot. So keep it coming. You keep the kudos coming, we'll keep the hot product coming. And that is what I call a mutually assured, beneficial agreement. Or a MABA for short. I think I covered all the bases. From conceptualization to the minute you crack it open and slap it on the turntable. Tell you what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to sign off and go listen to the thing. Because, yeah, I'll listen to my own records. It's at least half the fun. Yes. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. It is always my pleasure. It is my job and my joy to bring you Tent Talks Tunes. Every Wednesday, 7 p.m., live on the Facebook. And archived forever on the YouTube. But you know what? If we're stuck with this internet thing, we might as well put it to good use. So here we are, putting it to good use. If all goes well, I do expect to be back in about 167 hours. So until we meet again, this is Malcolm Tent saying so long from the Fig City.